Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. And we just finished talking about the big three Hong Kong companies, which was SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. And so today we're going to talk about the company that everybody assumes is one of the big three, which is Union, also known as Evergo, and occasionally referred to as Envirofan, even though Envirofan's a separate company. Union is such a big deal among fan collectors that we're actually going to split it up into two videos, and the only question really is am I going to wear the same glasses? I stumbled over my words too many times. We're going to start over. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished discussing the big three Hong Kong manufacturers, SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. So today we're going to talk about what a lot of people assume is one of the Hong Kong big three, but isn't, Union, also known as Evergo. The only question is going to be whether or not... Oh, fuck, I screwed it up. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished up our sub-series on the Hong Kong Big Three, SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. So today we're going to talk about a company that a lot of people assume is part of the Big Three, but isn't, which is Union, also known as Evergo. They are so interesting and important that we're going to actually devote two videos to them. The only question will be whether or not I wear the same glasses in both videos. So let's get to it. So first, preliminary. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished up our sub-video series about Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished talking about the Hong Kong Big Three, SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. So today we're going to talk about a company a lot of people assume is part of the Big Three, which is Union, aka Evergo. In fact, they're so interesting and important, and we have so much to discuss with them that it's actually going to be split into two videos. And the only question will be whether or not I wear the same glasses in both videos. So let's get into it. I'm going to first start with some preliminary information about each name. Union, which is what they were founded as. Evergo, which is what they initially rebranded as. Leslie Lock, which was one of their main relabels that had unique product designs. And Envirofan, which is often associated with the early days of Union. So let's get into those notes first. Union was founded in 1974 by Joseph Lau, who was nicknamed Electric Fan Lau. Union shows up in the U.S. by name from 1979 to 1983. In 1980, Union patents the banana fan with a skeletal motor, which came after the shaded pole motor, and the dual pull chain, which was also on the shaded pole motor version. That version with the dual pull chains and the skeleton motor, which in my opinion is the best motor for banana fans, was patented in 1980. They were actually still selling the shaded pole version then. In 1979, there was a company called LaFleur Fan Co. that added wood blades to Union fans before they were sold with wood blades. In 1988, Pay and Pack sued Union, which is interesting because technically Union no longer existed by 1988. They were a different company by then, and we'll get into that in the future. The Evergo name shows up in the U.S. in ceiling fan advertising from 1982 to 1986. So basically, after they were done using the Union name, they started using the Evergo name. That's all we have on Evergo for now. We're going to get into them a lot later, especially in the second video. Okay, Leslie Lock, Union branded, Evergo branded. Welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished talking about the Hong Kong Big Three, SMC, Dinway, and Wingtat. So today we're going to talk about a company that everybody assumes is part of the Big Three, but isn't. Union, also known as Evergo. So, what I'm going to do first, because this has got so much to talk about here, I'm going to split it into two videos. The only question will be whether or not I wear the same glasses in each video. So, we're going to start with some preliminary information about Union, about Evergo, about Leslie Lock, about Miami Carry, and about Envirofan, which are the names that those fans are typically sold at. Fans made by Union and Evergo are typically sold at in the U.S. under those names. Okay, so Union was founded in 1974 by Joseph Lau, who is known as Electric Fan Lau. Union labeled fans sold and advertised as Union show up in the US from 1979 to 1983. In 1980, Union patented the banana fan with the skeletal motor. If you like banana fans, you're familiar. They have the shaded pole version, skeletal version, cast spinner, stamped spinner. And in my opinion, the skeletal motor is the best version, and only the shaded pole and the skeletal version have the dual pull chain system that makes them so cool. The patent included both the dual pull chain system, which was already being used in the shaded pole fans, and the skeletal motor itself. They were both included in the patent. That was 1980, which is interesting because they kept selling the shaded pole version after that and eventually transitioned to the skeletal version. There was a company called LaFleur Fan Co. that added wood blades to Union fans in 1979 before they could make wood-bladed fans themselves. In 1988, Pay and Pack, the chain, sued Union, which is really interesting because by 1988, Union was no longer a company. They had transitioned into a different company by then and was no longer making fans. So that's Union. That's the Union name in the U.S. The Evergo name in the U.S. shows up from 1982 to 1986. Union Evergo fans show up labeled Leslie Lock in the U.S. from 1980 to 1983. And that's particularly interesting because Leslie Lock and their parent company, Questor, actually own some of the patents for Union and Evergo products. The baseball bat blades, if you watch my videos, you know what those are. They were used in certain spinners and certain banana fans. They're just a really weird blade shape. Those were patented by Questor Corp in 1980, and the patent was transferred to Leslie Lock, one of their subsidiaries, in 1983. Union and Evergo fans show up labeled Miami Carry from 1981 to 1984. Union-made fans show up labeled EnviroFan in advertising from 1978 onward until they switched OEMs. However, we know that EnviroFan was using Union products well before that. So let's talk briefly about EnviroFan, which was founded initially as Banville. Banville was the company initially, and that was founded in 1974 by Al Bondman. And in 1976, they started U.S. distribution as EnviroFan. So that's when Union products would have first reached the U.S., 1976, even though they don't show up in advertising until 78. In 1978, EnviroFan claims to have switched OEMs, and they claim to have switched from Taiwan to China. Now, that doesn't make any sense to me because we can't find any record of them switching OEMs in 79. They're still using Union and Evergo products until 83, unless they mean switched from Union to Evergo. But really, the Evergo, which would have been 78, I think, is when the Evergo name first started being used. We'll talk about that more in the second video. But Taiwan to China, fans weren't manufactured in mainland China and exported for the most part until 85 was the first, fan manufacturing in mainland China. So unless they meant Taiwan to Hong Kong, but we know they went Hong Kong to Taiwan. So I think maybe the person who gave me that information from EnviroFan is just mistaken, but I feel obligated to include it. By the way, I do want to personally shout out one of the founders of EnviroFan, Janet Dahl, who is one of the people that I got a lot of my information from over the years. She tragically passed away either during or just before the pandemic. And I only found that out because I've been speaking to EnviroFan recently to get some information for these videos, and they shared that with me, and I was very sad to hear it. So just wanted to say that Janet was a wonderful person and very helpful, both in terms of learning about EnviroFan and selling their products and using their products and everything else like that. And she will be missed. So, okay, back to that. So in 1983 is when they switched from the Union version, Evergo version, to the plunger canopy version, which we don't definitively know the OEM. I have a theory that is Fanbird or Firebird, but it's just a theory. Those are made in Taiwan. So 83 is when they switched from Hong Kong to Taiwan. And then in 1986, they switched from Taiwan to mainland China, which is when they switched from the 3-rivet blade to the 4-rivet blade. And that, we are pretty sure we know the OEM is Xinhu Electric Motor Factory, which is the parent company of PowerMax, which is why some people have assumed that PowerMax is the OEM. One point of order there too, though, I've shared in these previous videos that Chen Luen is the parent company of PowerMax. So there's definitely some some dissonance there as well. I don't have really a strong answer about that, but like I said, I don't know for sure that that's the current OEM. That's just what I have based on the information in front of me. That information did come from a reputable industry professional, so let's assume that they're correct, but I have to give a disclaimer. Okay, and then in 1995 is when Envirofan officially separates from Banville. Banville takes the Canada distribution and Envirofan takes the U.S. distribution. And you will note that they were operating separately back to 76, but they were still one company until 95. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is model names, specifically for, first of all, for the banana fans, and then also for the Leslie Lock products, which tend to be unique with the weird blade shapes and finishes and everything else like that. So, the banana fan was sold as the Imperial from 1981 to 1983 through Menards. And what's interesting is Menards claims to have gotten that from Envirofan, but Envirofan has no record of ever selling them. So we don't know who was playing fast and loose there. But if you look at the old Menards ads, they advertised that model as the Imperial and as the Imperial by Envirofan in some cases. The Leslie Lock banana fans show up in 1981 and 1982. 1980 is the sealed bearings shaded pole. I don't have allegedly there's an oil bath version. I don't have data on it. 1980 is sealed bearings shaded pole. 1982 is skeletal motor reversible, and 1983 is the 3-speed spinner. So that is both. By the way, that date range I just gave you there is both Leslie Lock and banana fans other places. So the Leslie Lock models were 81 to 82, but then they continued with the spinner model, which was not Leslie Lock in other places, just to clarify. So, you know what? I screwed that up again, but we're 8 minutes in. I'm not going to do an outtake. 1980 sealed bearing shaded pole is just... I got to start over, which is too bad because we're so far into this. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. This is part 2 of our video on Union or Union Nagaki, also known as Evergo, one of the most popular Hong Kong ceiling fan companies, both in terms of sales in the US and among collectors. So we talked in the first part of the video about some of the models and some of the different changes over the years. We're going to talk about the company itself, particularly its founder, Joseph Lau, also known as Electric Fan Lau, because he is very interesting. So let's get into it. In 1974, Joseph Lau graduated from the University of Windsor, Canada, and Santa Clara University in Santa Clara, California. So even though he was from Hong Kong, he was educated in the U.S. He went back to Hong Kong and founded Union with his brother, Thomas Lau. That was their ceiling fan company in 1974. In 1978, they founded Evergo Industrial Enterprise Limited. Union is absorbed into Evergo and they become one company. In 1983, Evergo becomes publicly listed, so it becomes a public company instead of a private company. In 1984, Union trademarks the Union logo, which is interesting because they're not really using Union anymore. They're using Evergo. Union trademarks the Union logo, Woodmark, Top Class, and Super 36. In 1985, Evergo becomes a property management investment company. I'm going to start over because it's not a property management company. I don't know why I said that. It's a property investment company. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the Union Evergo Union Nagaki video, because this is part 2 of one of my favorite ceiling fan companies, one of the most popular ceiling fan manufacturers out of Hong Kong during the heyday of ceiling fans, and certainly another interesting story in the ceiling fan industry. So let's get into it. This video is going to focus mainly on the founder of Union and Evergo, Joseph Lau, also known as... I'm going to do it again. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. We just finished up the first part of our series on Union. This is part 2. We're mainly Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. I hope you enjoyed part 1 about Union, aka Evergo, aka Union Nagaki. This is part 2. We're mainly going to focus on its founder, Joseph Lau, aka Electric Fan Lau. So let's get into it. In 1974, Joseph Lau graduated from the University of Windsor, Canada, after attending the University of Santa Clara in Santa Clara, California. So even though he was from Hong Kong, he was educated in the US and Canada. And in 1974, he moves back to Hong Kong and founds Union with his brother Thomas Lau. In 1978, they found Evergo Industrial Enterprise Limited. In theory, Union is absorbed into Evergo. They become one company. Also, it's important to note that they founded Union together. Technically, Joseph founded Evergo, although Thomas still worked there and was part of the executives, etc., etc. In 1983, Evergo becomes publicly listed. In 1984, Union, as Evergo, I suppose, trademarks Woodmark, Top Class, and Super 36. In 1985, Evergo becomes a property investment company and they sell their ceiling fan business. Thomas goes into the department store business with a department store called Sogo Hong Kong. In 1986, Evergo acquires China Estates Limited and becomes Evergo China Holdings Limited. In 1990, they found something called Kwang Sang Hong International. In 1993, they restructure as Chinese Estate Holdings Limited. So the Evergo name is no more by 1983. In 1990, I gotta look something up. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. So today we're going to finish up our micro series on the Hong Kong Big Three. These were the three primary. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. So I hope you enjoyed the first part of our series on Union, aka Evergo, aka Union Nagaki. Today we're going to do the second part of that series, and we're mainly going to focus on the founder, Mr. Joseph Lau, aka Electric Fan Lau. So let's get into it. In 1974, Joseph Lau graduated from the University of Windsor, Canada, after attending the University of Santa Clara in California. So even though he was from Hong Kong, he was educated in Canada and the US. In 1974, he goes back to Hong Kong and founds Union, a ceiling fan manufacturing company, with his brother Thomas Lau. In 1978, Joseph founds Evergo Industrial Enterprise. Union is absorbed into Evergo. They become one company. Thomas has some sort of executive position at Evergo. In 1983, Evergo becomes publicly listed. They become a publicly traded company in Hong Kong. In 1984, as Union, Evergo trademarks Woodmark, Top Class, and Super 36. In 1985, Evergo becomes a property investment company and sells their ceiling fan business. Thomas leaves and goes into the department store business with a company called Sogo Hong Kong, although he does become involved in these companies later on, as we may see. In 1986, Evergo acquires China Estates Ltd. And becomes Evergo China Holdings Ltd. In 1990, a company called Kwang Sang Hong International is formed. In 1993, Evergo restructures as Chinese Estates Holdings Limited, so the Evergo name is no more as of 1993. In 1998, Joseph Lau becomes primary of Kwang Sang Hong International. In 2006, Joseph Lau becomes a billionaire. He debuts on Forbes' World's Billionaires list with an estimated net worth of $1.7 billion. That year, he purchases Andy Warhol's Mao for $17 million. In 2007, he purchases Paul Gauguin's Le Pupui, I can't say these things, for $39 million. He's also among the first 7 purchasers of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner private jet. In 2009, he buys a 7-carat blue diamond for his daughter Josephine that he named the Star of Josephine. It costs $10 million. In 2012, he faces trial in Macau for bribery and money laundering. In 2013, his lawyer submits a medical report to a Macau judge citing Lau as physically unfit to show up for a court hearing due to heart disease and diabetes. In 2014, he is sentenced to 5 years and 3 months in prison by a Macau court for a connection with a 2005 racketeering case that he bribed a public official in return for land concessions. Remember, they're no longer a ceiling fan company. They're a property development company and an estate company. They buy and sell and develop land. The bribe was worth $2.5 million. He resigns from his company and becomes a fugitive. Also in 2014, the same year that all of that happens, he buys a 10-carat blue diamond for his 13-year-old daughter Zoe for $33 million. He also buys her a Cartier brooch featuring a 10-carat ruby that he named the Zoe Reb. I've made too many. We're going to do one more time. Hello and welcome back to the Workbench. This is where we discuss ceiling fan history, trivia, and technical information. So I hope you enjoyed the first part of our series on Union. This is part 2, and we're going to focus primarily on the founder of Union and Evergo, Mr. Joseph Lau, aka Electric Fan Lau. So, in 1974, Joseph Lau graduated from the University of Windsor, Canada, after previously attending the University of Santa Clara in California. So even though he was from Hong Kong, he was educated in the U.S., and then he returned to Hong Kong in 1974 to found, with his brother Thomas Lau, the Union Ceiling Fan and Electric Manufacturing Company. It's 1974. In 1978, Joseph Lau founds Evergo Industrial Enterprise. They absorb Union into one company. So Thomas is still a part of it, but it's Joseph's company. In 1983, Evergo becomes publicly traded. It becomes a publicly listed company on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. In 1984, Evergo, as Union, trademarks Woodmark, Top Class, and Super 36. In 1985, Evergo becomes a property investment company and they sell their ceiling fan business. Thomas goes into the department store business with Sogo Hong Kong. In 1986, Evergo acquires China Estates Limited and becomes Evergo China Holdings Limited. So in 1986, Evergo is no longer a ceiling fan company. They are now a property investment company as Evergo China Holdings. In 1990, Kwang Sang Huang International is formed. In 1993, Evergo China Holdings is restructured as China Estates Holdings Limited. So the Evergo name is no more by 1993. 1993.